So a lot of times I tell people that the thing they have to do is run up and press buttons. That's just a thing that they need to add to their arsenal. And I get it. I've gone over this before, so you may have heard me talk about this before, but basically, things that the Street Fighter players like to do is walk around like this and try and get an advantage at like Footsie's range. They can get a knockdown, then they go in. And that works in Guilty Gear, but it's not. But because everyone's moving so fast all the time, if you're just moving like this, then the ability of for you to cover space with your attacks is much smaller than if you're running around here, right? Like, it's kind of crazy, but actually we can pull up some frame data here real quick. I highly recommend having frame data ready if you're in a proper learning mood for Guilty Gear. So let's go ahead and pull up Dust Loop. So frame data can teach you all kinds of things. We're gonna go look at chips real quick. And yeah, what's a good example? Okay, so actually his 5K is a great example, right? You look at this button right here. Woo! And you might not think it's that good, okay? It's just a kick. It's a dinky ass kick. What up, Pterodolphin? It's a little kick, right? You might not think you want to press this button. And then you look at some of the data around it, and you're like, okay, it starts up in 5 frames. That's pretty fast. It's also active for 5 frames, which is a long ass time, right? That means that this move puts out a hitbox on screen for 5 fucking frames. 5P only has 1 frame of active. His slash, his far slash, it's not like the only thing that starts to get close to that are usually like much bigger attacks, right? 2S is active for 4 frames. That's pretty good, right? Now let's take where's his Crouch Dust? 2D. All right, this thing's active for 2 frames. Okay, so for 2 frames, that's 2/60ths of a second. This attack puts out a hitbox, and if you hit, great. If you don't, that sucks, right? For 5/60ths of a second, this puts out hitboxes, right? Why does this matter? Well, if you're just standing here, the difference isn't that big a deal, right? Like, you got this attack here, and you got this attack here, and they both have their relative properties, and you could figure out based on Johnny's frame data, hey, when is it a good idea to press this button versus this button, whatever, right? Which is kind of how Street Fighter has to do with how Street Fighter handles frame data. But with Guilty Gear, because people are moving around, like look at all the amount that I slide, right? What if I run and press a button like that or like that, right? Chip is moving forward, and his hitboxes and hurtboxes move with him. So if I'm sliding forward for 5 frames, then I'm actually using the hitbox, which would normally just be static right here, right? Like this bit. I'm taking that, and I'm extending it across 5 frames of movement, like that, right? So you can think of it as drawing a line across the screen. The place where my hitbox starts is not going to be the same as where it ends up, because I'm going to be moving over those 5 frames. Now, even then, this isn't that big a difference, but if I'm running from out here, I just covered a shit ton of space, right? Whee! That's what I mean when I say you want to be running in and pressing buttons. Part of the reason you want to do this is so you don't want to go through the attack startup in your opponent's face, right? If I run up here and I don't press a button until I'm right up close, then I probably already got hit, right? But I can take the what is this, like 5 frames of attack startup, and I can do it outside range, right? So that I come in with an attack ready to go. The hitbox is already active, and if he stuck something out, it's probably gonna lose, right? This is what I mean when I say you gotta run up and press buttons. This is kind of why you have to run up and press buttons. And in this case, like, you might think, hey, since this is longer range, I should just be going through this, right? But because it's only active for 2 frames, if I run up and go for a sweep, even though the hitbox itself is longer, I won't be able to draw as long, right? I won't be getting as much mileage out of the momentum conservation because it's not active for that long. Which isn't to say never use run up 2D. Run up 2D is great, right? But you kind of want to figure out, like, why people would use this, right? And what the difference is. Like, you can learn frame data And you can, if you played Street Fighter, you played other fighting games, you'll probably have an idea of what it means. But it combines with the other systems in Guilty Gear to have a bigger effect than just that, which is pretty cool. So yeah, when I tell people to run up and press buttons, and pretty much almost everyone I've played with at like the new to mid level kind of has to work on it. What I'm telling you to do is to start your attacks out of range, but end with them in range, right? Which is actually one of the it doesn't feel safe, right? But it's actually one of the safest ways to approach, right? So yeah, consider that your micro lesson for the day. I'm going to tool around in training mode for a little bit. If I think of anything else, I will talk about that. And if you want to come in and get some games with me, then